So just playing with a little delay and verb here. I have the RC booster on into the matchless telly. I had a couple of questions. Just wanted to kind of dive into it real quick. Questions about how do you stack a couple of delays together, and how do you blend that with your reverb, and how do you kind of approach all that? And that's something I'm constantly playing around with. I use a Strymon timeline, which you may be familiar with. A lot of people use those. They're great. It's such a great delay pedal for just kind of an all-purpose. Like if I had to have just one delay pedal live to program an entire concert, that would be the pedal for programs, for like a digital thing. And then for years I've relied on a Boss DD5, which we'll probably do a whole DD5 episode because that's like my favorite pedal. But at the moment it's a Strymon timeline, and that's kind of handling all my digital BPM stuff. So in this example, I was playing like just a figure that I just kind of made up for the video here, but it's an application. And in the figure, there's the Strymon, the Strymline. The timeline is handling all the like dotted eighth delays, and I have a Memory Man that has a really good tap. Now I think that's really that's important, is to try to figure out. You want to kind of hunt down a pedal that has a good tap tempo. At least for me, that's really important for live, because we play these songs and they're set to a tempo, right? Like this happens to be set at 72 BPM. I just pulled up a patch that we use on tour. I think it was for Build My Life. And I just had this patch with this like, it's called tape. It's like a tape setting on, or does that say D tape? The D tape setting on the timeline. And I like how it warbles. It kind of has this nice warble to it. So I'll kind of just mess around with the settings in there until I get it right. So this is set at 72 BPM. And I just like this delay. And what I'm doing is I'm feeding that. I have that first, and it's feeding into my, I don't know, maybe it's the other way around. I used to feed it into the Memory Man mount. Maybe now it's reversed, because I wanted to try the timeline stereo, which I sometimes do. So anyway, what you're doing basically is stacking one delay pedal into another delay pedal. Now, the Strymon will do two delays within one of the settings. That dual setting, or I think pattern even will do it. There's a couple settings on there where you can stack two different rhythms. But I'm just going to quickly show you how just a quick way to kind of get that thing live. Because what I want a lot of times out of the timeline, or out of my digital delay, I want like a real specific kind of like nice and clear delay with a repeat that I really like. And maybe that doesn't have as many repeats, but it's nice and clear. And then the Memory Man, or any kind of analog sounding pedal, but I like the tempo on that. The tap tempo on this is so good. If you tap it, it's like right on the money, and that's really what I'm looking for. I had a Line 6 Echo Park for years, little green pedal, and it's cheaper, and it sounds so good. I love the way it sounds, but the tap it's hard, and this one seems to be really good. So I really like the tap tempo for this. Another reason I loved the DD5 was the tap tempo was so good. So what I'll do is I'll put like a dotted eighth maybe on the timeline, and then I'll do like a quarter note or even eighth note on the Memory Man. So what you've got is two rhythms working together. And so I'll tap them in, and then I'll do something like this. Here, I'm going to turn the verb off so you can hear it. And then I'll do something like this to make sure that they're like playing with each other nicely. So you can hear they're working one into the other. So here is just the timeline. Okay? And this is just the Memory Man. Okay? So the Memory Man is set up with, it's got some like mod on it. A little darker sounding. In fact, I might even do more repeats than that typically. Okay, you kind of hear that. And then, like I said, the timeline is doing the dotted eighth, so you get this gun, 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 gun kind of sound. So that's doing the. You can kind of hear it. The job it's doing, and then together. So when you start kind of playing a figure with your fingers, maybe like. It's just like a real simple thing. And then I've got this verb underneath it. And it doesn't have to be that affected. I dry up the verb sometimes. It just kind of depends. But you add it all together and you get this. Probably too many repeats now on the Memory Man. So I'd probably back it down for this kind of rhythmic part where you hear the. So that would be an example of how you might work them together. The other way that I do this a lot is I do the repeats on the Memory Man. I will do quarters instead of dotted eighth. So that would look like this. So, Memory Man now sounds like this. Okay? Longer. Then you've got the dotted eighth. Okay? So together. How that's all kind of working together. Now the tricky thing with this, if you're by yourself or if it's like a chill moment, that's all nice to have all that stuff moving around. Live, it can get a little dicey if there's just too much bouncing around and you've got like a syncopated track and a syncopated thing, and it can be tough. So what I'll do a lot of times is maybe I'll keep the level down. So like maybe the main part needs this dotted eighth with like a little bit of verb. Okay, so maybe the part is more like. Right? And then I might just hide the Memory Man. I might hide that lower in the mix. And then I'll put longer repeats. And what happens is. Then if there's like a moment in the song, one thing I like to do with this is if there's a moment in the song where everything falls out, like into a bridge or something, what I'll do is I'll kick with my foot. I'll blend that up. So let's say I'm playing my figure. And then right before we go into like a bridge or something, if there's like a fallout chord, I'm just like, I can just play like a... And I can just like let that hang over everything. Or a lot of times I'll just do like a big swell. So when you're stacking those delays, it allows the Memory Man delay or the second delay that's like darker and warmer and kind of creates this nice bed. What it allows it to do is it allows it to kind of hang out longer, especially if you've got like an overdrive or something on. You can do a swell at the end of a figure. Like you could just be playing that figure, right? And then like say there's a down section in the song, you can just hit like a chord. So the reason I say that is because you've already got that delay set up, right? So you could just back off your volume pedal and you've got all these nice trails. So that's an example of how I stack one into the other. I got that idea from you guys with your comments. Somebody wrote in and suggested that, and I thought it was like a great idea. I'm like, man, I use that all the time. So one option is, like I said, is the quarters up against the dotted eighth. and the other one is the eighth notes up against the dotted eighth. Both are really cool sounds. So yeah, check those out. And the verb is something I'm always playing with. If you put too much mix in your reverb, you can't hear what you're playing. And if you don't do enough, sometimes that's fine. I often play without reverb live, but a lot of times I'll just put it in just a touch, which gives the amp just a little bit of breath so that it doesn't sound too dry and sterile. So, hey, I hope that helps. That's just kind of a quick thought on the delays and verbs. We probably will do more delays and verbs episodes because that's something that I really rely on live. It can be your best friend for live guitar, especially kind of going back to the last video where we talked about if you're the only guitar player, it really is helpful to have some of that stuff to kind of fill up some space. So, hey, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Hope to see you on the next episode. And by all means, continue to hit me up with questions and thoughts and comments on there. I love being able to interact with you guys. It's been a lot of fun. So thank you.